The original concept of a bank was as a trust substitute. Before banks, if you wanted to build a bridge, you either needed the sovereign power of an army to compel labour, or a community small enough where everyone knew the bridge builder and he was less likely to run off with the materials. Both forms have limits. The king is only as powerful as his army, and the community reach is only as far as the village. Banking changed that. It breaks both of these limits at once. With banks, you no longer needed to trust the bridge builder personally or have a king to enforce the contract violently. If you left your gold with a banker, they gave you a banker's receipt. Over time, people started to just trade on these receipts because it's easier than lugging gold around. You could bring your goldsmith's receipt to a stranger in another town and they would accept it as if you had brought them gold, because the receipts were backed by the institution, and this institution staked its entire existence on honouring those receipts. Strangers could now enter into contracts with other strangers across vast distances, and they didn't even need to travel to do it. The receipt travelled. That is the entire foundational model of European trade. Central banking is what built this version of the modern economy. It made trust portable. It made trust transferable. It made trust a fiction. The original Italian medieval banking houses like the Bardi, Peruzzi and Medici got rich by being trustworthy. Their wealth came from the society's belief that they were responsible with their money. What JP Morgan and modern megabanks in general have done is invert that relationship. The bank no longer holds the trust so that strangers can transact. These banks are holding that medieval trust as ransom, as collateral against their own behaviour. Nowadays, there's no guarantee that these receipts are going to be honoured. That is a fiction that is backed by taxpayer money. If everybody went to JP Morgan Chase and other banks this morning and started pulling out their money, the system would freeze. Only the first couple of hundred would actually get their money out. Everybody else will collapse. The gold standard was dismantled in 1971. There is nothing backing your money. There is nothing underneath the value of your savings account except the promise that you don't all ask for it back at the same time. And the institutions behind that fiction bet against their own clients, lobby regulators that supervise it to look the other way, finance the industries that are destroying the conditions for life on this planet, invest your pension savings and bank deposits in those industries without your informed consent, and have a chairman who took home a salary last year that is 17,000 times more than what the people who work for him make. Jamie Dimon took home $770 million at least last year, but a call centre worker at JP Morgan Chase is on no more than $45,000 a year. This period of history will be remembered as the anthro-obscene. The trust that these institutions rely on is no longer the institution's trust. It is their hostage. And this trick only works if everybody continues to believe in that original promise. What JP Morgan sells to its clients and the regulator and the public is the illusion of trust. Hundreds of millions of people transact through these organizations every day on the assumption that JP Morgan Deposit is safe. The trust function is real because it is backed by the government. What is illusory is the idea that this institution has a purpose, and that purpose is trust, and that trust is keeping you safe. The trust is the institution's cover. The institution's purpose is to harvest and extract. I have created a charge sheet, the crimes of JP Morgan. I will cover it in a separate video. I need to condense the wording further because the script is currently 20 minutes long. This institution has really earned your distrust. Since the Paris Climate Agreement 10 years ago, they have invested $500 billion into more fossil fuels. They are the world's #1 financer of our impending doom. Entirely avoidable impending doom. They are only still solvent because the receipts are still being accepted and tolerated and backed by taxpayer money. I'm filming this on Thursday the 14th of May. JP Morgan have their annual shareholders meeting next Tuesday the 19th of May at 10 a.m. Eastern Time, which is 3 p.m. UK. It's publicly live streamed. You can just watch it. I am hosting a watch party for this in my Discord. If you are not already familiar with me or my background, I spent a decade writing the member comms for big institutional pension managers. These shareholder meetings are fucking boring. This will run for 75 minutes and at least 60 of those minutes are pre-cooked theatre. Diamond will read something, another director is going to read something, people will vote on decisions that were made weeks ago by Vanguard and BlackRock, and then there's a Q&A if time permits. Watching that alone is super boring, but watching it in a room of friends who are capable of dismantling their rhetoric in real time in front of them, I think that might be kind of funny. So every time Diamond says something, I can fact check it. There are 4 shareholder proposals on the agenda for this meeting. One of them was filed by Catholic missionaries, and another one was filed by a conservative think tank, and they both say the same thing. We don't believe your spreadsheet. And another research question is already emerging. Why are Catholic missionaries so deeply invested in JP Morgan? You are only allowed to submit questions if you are a shareholder. But some of you might already be shareholders and you don't even know. If you have a pension, a 401k, a workplace scheme, or even an ISA with a global tracker, your money might already be invested in JP Morgan. Check! Go and find that letter you received from your HR department years ago. See if you can find the password to get back into the pension portal. And if when you log into your pension portal, you see the letters JPM, the first thing you can do is vote against them before next Tuesday. Then move your money and have your pension provider explain to you why they are financing pure doom with your future. If your salary lands in a JP Morgan Chase bank account, JP Morgan pools that money with everybody else's money and uses that deposit base as collateral, underwriting the loans it gives to fossil fuel companies. The fossil fuel company then does obscene things to make its own money so that it can pay JP Morgan back. Those profits flow into the bank, into Diamond's remuneration package, and out to their shareholders, Vanguard, BlackRock, and State Street. Those are the companies that get bigger and richer and more powerful off the original salary you trusted him with. But if it goes wrong and the climate collapses, or the bank collapses, or the profit stream collapses, then you will pay again through your taxes when your government bails them out. What would tank this bank is if all of those little household depositors moved their money out of a megabank and into the local credit union. Politically, this has been made difficult because the government are afraid of this "if you pull all your money, the system collapses" rhetoric from the bank. Most people don't know that their workplace pension might mean that they own a small piece of this bank. Most people don't know that they can instruct their pension providers directly on how to vote against JP management. Between retail customers and pension providers, you have a lot more collective power than you realize. In the next few videos, I'm going to bring you through the history of JP Morgan, not the Chase Bank. The history on JP Morgan's website is the history of the Chase Bank, a bank they bought in the year 2000. To get the history of JP Morgan, you need to search for these names.